Good morning. I'm John Basillo, and with me is Daniela Adizwa and Christy Ford. What we'll be talking about this morning is offshoring, specifically offshoring to China and India. The purpose of our discussion, again, discussing offshoring IT, to be more specific to China and India. We'll discuss what that means, how it's accomplished, and some technical considerations prior to offshoring. We'll also explore how and why the process makes sense for business and why business may decide to move towards offshoring. Christy will discuss what the process is and why would an organization offshore. Daniela will take some topics and cover what types of systems and products get offshored to China versus India, and then I'll go ahead and summarize the discussion. Christy?
Great. Well, as you probably know, businesses all over the world right now are turning towards offshoring. And their information technology departments are the first department usually to be offshored to places like China and India. It has become a popular strategy for corporations to turn to for cost reductions and for increased reliability. There are many other, but the number one popular reason is the cost reductions, which later on will produce a greater ROI on your projects. The other areas that it benefits is improving company focus, which I'll go into a little bit more later, to gain access to world-class capabilities that maybe we don't have here in our country. And it may be necessary for resources that are not available in the United States. It also allows us to share the risks involved. It can take place either inside a single multinational corporation or through an outsourcing contract with a foreign company. Now, many sources do say that contracts sometimes with a foreign country do not go through and do not extend to the length of the contract. So that may be a little bit more risk involved. The two countries that we will be discussing further today are India and China. India has focused on emerging service industry, where China specializes more in the production offshoring. One of the first areas of the country, or of a company to be sent offshoring, is the corporate software programming. And the reason being is that the computer language is an aspect of information technology that is easily learned and taught. Now, there are other areas that are sent offshore, which are maintenance and repair. Training is another very popular aspect of the business sent, and application development area, and consulting, and especially end user support. And I think a lot of us have experienced that when we call up companies and you get somebody from India or China on the phone when you're just asking a technical question. Now, as offshoring further develops, both countries have been reporting benefiting from all aspects. The cost savings, obviously, is the top reason, and that business invest in the future of their companies in this business strategic avenue. Companies can save up to 20 to 50% of their IT expenses. As I mentioned before, another benefit to offshoring is it allows management teams to put their focus on other areas of the corporation and of the areas of the business. Companies can send work to be done while they go home for the day and wake up the next morning and that area of the process is completed. Now, the efficiency and the quality of work can increase from sending it offshore too. So this efficiency, if combined with increased quality of work, is a key success combination. Today, approximately 40% of Fortune 500 companies outsource IT development services to other countries. And not all countries have success, and John will go further into those reasons in just a minute. Studies have suggested that having an offshore strategy where a company considers the risk and is aware of the cultural differences and the language issues will reduce future problems. And as with most business decisions, firms have to do intense research when determining which of vendors they want to do business with. And as long as they do that well, there should reduce the risk involved. When a business has decided to move a department offshore, they have many obstacles to overcome. Obviously, language and communication is a big barrier, and I think that as long as you stay close to the situation and you have your managers in place and you all have the correct agenda and you realize the agenda of the overall corporation, it will help benefit the company further. So Danielle, will you tell us a little bit more about what offshoring is?
Sure. So what is offshoring? According to James O'Brien and George Marcus, offshoring can be defined as relocation of an organization's business processes, including production and manufacturing, to a lower cost location, usually overseas. So what activities can be sent offshore? These include development, maintenance of applications, infrastructure, and customer service. Offshoring to India started in the 1990s, but really took off in the 1970s, but really took off in the 1990s to 2000. And they started with IT functions, but have moved to back office activities like call center and transaction processing and application development. Popular offshore pro- providers include Infosys and Wipro. China was known more for production offshore, but are now rivaling India in non-production activities. Now I'd like to get back to John to give you the final word.
As we discussed, offshoring is becoming a huge part of the organizational business model. As today's competitive landscape becomes more and more global, it's becoming more and more popular as well. Offshoring is one way where an organization can gain a competitive advantage and reduce and actually see some significant cost savings and improve some efficiencies. Again, we touched on the ability to ask for project completion at the close of business in the United States, to only to come back at 7 a.m. the following morning and have that cycle completed. This allows now for a 24-hour day to actually be utilized versus just an 8 to 10-hour workday, should you keep all of those services here. The process does, however, have its limitations and considerations. First and foremost would be the language and cultural differences. Not so much language barrier when we're dealing with the country of India, but more specifically China. Now when you need to go ahead and discuss maybe changes to a contract or a project, now you're either making sure that you're staffing bilingually or you're using a translating service, which could add some cost to a program. And more importantly, cultural differences. You know, what may be acceptable here or in a communication media may be acceptable here, may not be accepted there. So again, these are all considerations that could create slight barriers. Contractual terms. Not all companies keep their offshoring activities internal to their organizations. They may contract with a provider, and you may be in a situation where you need a service done that was not built into the original contract, may have to do addendums and modifications, which could slow the process down. Also, some of the research shows that when a company offshores a process, they become detached from the project. Again, it's not in front of them every day, so it's not a concern in the daily firefighting that we all get caught up in. However, with each one of those considerations, there are a benefit to those. Cultural match and relationships. Some may view it as a potential problem, but it's a learning experience for all of us, and I think we can all learn and grow. It enables you to think more globally, and that's obviously how things are headed in today's marketplace. And becoming detached to a project just really makes you focus on what's important to your organization. And more importantly, in a global marketplace where wage considerations and cost reductions are driving more and more business decisions, this just makes sense. After completing much research, it's important to identify the risks, but I think the benefits, and I think we all would agree that the benefits do outweigh the risks in this, and it's definitely one way to go ahead and compete and become more cost effective, but we would recommend offshoring to a company that's ready to commit to a couple things. One, the necessary resources to make sure that this succeeds, and the correct management system and processes in place to watch to make sure that this succeeds. We do view offshoring as a way to build value in an organization, thereby returning value to shareholders should it be a publicly traded company, or to the actual business owners if it's private. Thank you. Now we'll entertain any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know what I need to do when I get up?
No way.